Good morning, everybody. Jim Feist, Andy Iskoe from Las Vegas for Proline TV and JimFeist.com and the Logical Report.
Logical,
The
the logical approach.
logical
Uh,
approach.
uh, uh,
That's at logicalapproach.com, JimFeist.com, YouTube, Proline TV. We got it all. The advertisements are out there. Now, we've got contests, we've got alternate lines, we've got what else do we got?
Teasers.
Teasers.
Yes.
So, what are you thinking, Andy? How was your week?
It was a decent week last week. I can honestly say I'm a survivor, but we're not talking about the contest. I survived the Bronco Raiders game last night. If you hadn't watched the game and you took a look at the statistics from that game, the box score, you said, "Oh my God, they were playing in a blizzard. Nobody could do anything."
Well, it's like Denver is kind of spastic. I know they have a good defense, and I know Bo Nix is up and coming, but he's not really consistent.
No.
And the Raiders, it's a division game. They're going to come to play. None of these pro athletes want to be embarrassed, of course. I had the dog and I had the under, so I'm happy both ways. Money
I was
wise,
with you on the under, and I saw there was a late move down because it was 43 for much of the past 2 days, and then within 45 minutes of game time, we saw it go down to 42.5 and then 42, and
right.
That was never threatened.
Okay, so since I'm running out of power,
all right,
let's go.
All right, I'll talk about a couple of the contests, the big ones, the survivors. I will mention that the Super Survivor in the Westgate, where that's the $5,000 entry fee. Same rules, except there's no Christmas or Thanksgiving split at the Westgate. It's $5,000 entry fee, so it's 18 weeks. And if I recall correctly, they are down to, I think it's 16 survivors who each put up the $5,000. They're playing for a little bit over $500,000, and only a couple of people were eliminated last week from that contest, as you might expect. Two of these then 18 were on the Packers, and we saw a similar situation in the Circa Survivor, the regular Circa Survivor, the $1,000 entry fee, where they're playing for $18.7 million. Beginning last week, there were 2,057 entries still alive, and the big villain last week for those contestants were the Green Bay Packers. 264 are eliminated because of the Packers losing to the Panthers, and we also had a few others. I think the Texans had one that lost. The Cowboys had two, and there was one other one that escapes me right now. But that person, unfortunately, knows who it is because they were the one holding the ticket. But nonetheless, the field is down to 1,769 entries. Each entry has an implied value right now of $10,581, and that will continue to go down as the field shrinks. The field shrunk by a little bit over 10% last week, and we'll see what happens, especially because looking at this week and all the small point spreads, it's a very difficult week, week 10. In that Westgate Survivor, because one of my guys is still alive in that one, and we were talking last night for his strategy for this week, we noticed that 3 people had the Broncos still available. And unlike Circa, where you need to save teams, although Denver would not be one of them, you don't need to save teams because that contest with only 69 entries is likely not going to last past Christmas, and it may not last past Thanksgiving. And so we figured that the 3 people who had Denver alive last night would have been Denver because they were by far the biggest favorite of the week as far as the matchup goes. It didn't turn out that way, but they ended up holding on to or getting that field goal to win and surviving the missed field goal. So that's what happened in that one. But this week, if you take a look at the contest, by the way, good news. Nobody failed to turn in a pick last week. That's the first time all season after 9 weeks that we had perfect attendance. But nonetheless, there's really not much to choose from this week. I would imagine that one of the teams that people will be looking at might be Detroit, even though they're on the road. They're playing that revenge game against a beat-up and injury-riddled Washington team, so that might be a popular pick. The Panthers are being considered by a number of people because of the way that they're playing, and they're hosting a division rival New Orleans. And remember, all they have to do is win the game for your entry to advance. The other large ones, I don't know if anyone will be doing one thing with the Berlin game, where you've got the Colts about a 6.5, 7-point favorite over Atlanta. And the only other one aside from that would be Buffalo, and most people have used Buffalo when they're about 9.5-point favorite in Miami against the Dolphins, whom they beat by 10 back home very early in the season. So this is a very tough week because we've got so many low point spreads indicating an expectation. It doesn't always turn out that way. Expectation of very competitive games, which could go one way or the other. So this contest, we're about we're a little bit more than halfway through the season. This will be week number 10. Well, almost halfway, because this contest at Circa has those two split weeks. So there's 20 weeks in the contest, and this is week 10 of the NFL season. So this will be the halfway point. And again, we started with 18,000. We're down to a little bit over, a little bit under 1,800 remaining. So about 90% have been eliminated.
That's awesome. I mean, it's like you said, this is a tough week. I wouldn't be afraid. I don't know. Miami is still dangerous. It is a division game, but
although they did trade away one of their best defenders for whatever that's worth from a bad defense, but he was a good defender.
Yeah, the question is, Buffalo has to come there with the mindset. It's all about mindset.
Yeah.
I mean, Denver is much better than the Raiders, but they didn't have the right mindset.
Well, Buffalo has to have the right mindset because they are sitting in second place behind New England in the AFC East, and they have to still go to New England and play there later in the season. They cannot afford another division loss.
Well, New England's in a tough spot this week. I mean, they're a small dog on the road to Tampa, and Tampa's coming off the bye, and Tampa is a winning team, a tough team, a good quarterback, a good coach, but they haven't played one game this year when they were healthy. So
they're like San Francisco. They keep winning despite the fact that they're having to overcome all the injuries that they've endured, and that's been consistent from basically week one.
That shows you there's good coaching and there's a lot of good backup players. There may not be superstars yet, but they are good
coaching players. And good talent evaluators.
Correct. Okay, what's the next subject, Andy?
Oh, I was just going to mention Grandissimo. I mentioned that they started with 69. Those were the folks who paid $100,000 an entry. Wow. 56 were eliminated prior to last week. 2 went out on the Packers, so there are 11 remaining playing for the $6.9 million pool. That's an implied value of $627,273 is what each of those 11 entries is currently worth if they were to split the pot today. As far as we could take a look, I guess now at the teasers.
What did you say the top prize is? Isn't that?
Well, that's a winner take all. Also, that's a Survivor, $6.9 million. That's 69 entrants who paid the $100,000. We're down to 11, and so it's worth a little bit over $627,000 per entry.
Okay. Right.
That one also might not last the rest of the season because you're getting fewer and fewer contestants, and at the same time you're getting fewer and fewer good teams to pick from because you must have used them all. Now, it's a little bit different in the $1,000 entry because you have to be careful. Well, you do in this other contest as well, but with 18,000 entries, you got to be careful that you save entries because that contest has always gone the distance. But in this contest with the 69 entries and the 111 that started in the Westgate Super Survivor, you just need to advance. You play your best game each week. Don't worry about saving them for later because you may not need them because this contest may only go 12, 13 weeks. So those two. So as far as the teasers this week, it looks like it's probably a better week for teasing up underdogs than it is teasing down favorites because the only favorites you'd be looking at now you would have barely covered last night with the Broncos in a teaser depending upon when you got them. The line went down. I think it closed at 8.5. So if you played a 6-pointer, they would have covered at -2.5. If you played a 6.5 point teaser, and you would have paid a little bit more juice for that than the 2-pointer. But the 2-pointers have been really basically going out. The 2-teamers rather going out of style because of the onerous vig there. They would have covered that one. But the only other big favorites that you can really tease down this week, if you wanted to, would be the Falcons over in Berlin and the Bills rather against the Dolphins. That's around 9.5. And then the Seahawks laying 6.5, 7 to the Cardinals. So if you wanted to do a 3-team teaser with those three, those are the only ones. As far as having the underdogs, a lot of good underdogs. I don't know what you want. If anyone would want to do anything with the Browns and the Jets because of the Jets wholesale fire sale, I don't know how comfortable people would feel taking the Saints from 5 up to 11. Now the Panthers you might want to consider if you want to go from 5 down to +1 cross 0. I don't normally recommend it. That's effectively saying the Panthers just have to win the game for you to do no worse than push if it's a 1-point win. But you take a look at competitively priced games. The Texans could be a teaser up, going from +1 to +7 or thereabouts. The Vikings +4, maybe going up to +10. That figures to be a competitive game. They're home dogs to the Ravens. I know we talked about this on our podcast with Mark and Greg yesterday, that this is an important game for both the Ravens and the Vikings. I don't really see any edges because it's critical games for both teams, and both teams are capable of winning. So if you can tease this home dog, remember, this Vikings were 14-3 last year. That if you can tease them up to +10 against a Baltimore team that still has to show that defense is improved, even though it's healthy. And Lamar, of course, should be a little bit less rusty than he was last week, but still 10 points is a big number. I don't know that I would want to tease the Giants in that same price range because you just can't rely on them. But maybe you take a look at a team like the 49ers, who always seem to play well against the Rams. Steelers will be a very popular teaser play, going from +3 to, or even +2.5 now, up to 8.5 or 9. And then the Eagles Monday night against the Packers in a game that a lot of us think the Eagles will win. So there are more opportunities, I think, for the underdogs this week in teasers than with the favorites.
I agree. And alt lines, you see any alt line plays that you really?
Yeah, the one that comes.
Buffalo just jumped to 10.
Yeah,
in a couple spots. Just now, they jumped to 10.
And you wonder and you talked about the mindset. A lot of people say, well, they're coming off that big win against Kansas City, blah, blah, blah. Hey, they beat Kansas City every regular season. It is a nice win, but I don't think it's the kind of thing like, wow, look, we finally conquered something, and we're going to have a little bit of a letdown because I think they're very focused, and obviously Josh Allen is a guy I'd like to have on my side all the time. So they would be one. Maybe you want to lay the 14.5 and get a plus price. I imagine it might be plus between like 180 and 220 if you lay the 14.5. The other one that comes to mind, and this is the big revenge game that's been circled ever since they walked into the locker room after being eliminated in the playoffs, and that's the Lions. Big favorites, I think, between 8 and 9 at Washington. Washington, of course, without Jayden Daniels. We don't know about McLaurin as far as his availability. The Lions, rather, coming off of that loss to Minnesota on their home field. That's the another division loss that they had. They lost earlier at Green Bay to open the season, and of course they'll be meeting with the Packers. So it's certainly a game that the Lions can't afford to lose. Washington has been looking ugly the last few games with their quarterback and Mariota just taking over. The defense, as a result, has been under a lot of pressure, and that defense has been no good. I think they've had a number of double-digit blowout losses recently. I think ever since that game to the over the Chargers. So I think that the two teams that I would look at, and I probably have a little bit more confidence in the Lions. Number one, the coaching style of Campbell. He's aggressive. He goes for it often when he shouldn't, or when we think he shouldn't. And he's aggressive. They've got good play calling there, and I just don't see Washington being able to give them much of a game. Now, of course, a lot of us thought the same thing about the Raiders last night not being able to give the Broncos, but the Broncos, because they're not an offensively strong team, would not have been a candidate for an alternate line.
The Washington got a boost emotionally a little while ago, where it shows that Daniels is not as hurt as everybody thought. Yeah. And that means he might come back or will come back. So the team probably got a little bit of an emotional boost from that.
Yeah.
And the public is going to overrate Detroit in this spot. I would not touch this game with a 10-foot pole. Teaser-wise, I like the dogs. I like teasing the dogs up this week. I think you got competitive games, an extra 6.5 points makes a world of difference, but not on bad teams. I would not touch bad teams like New Orleans or any of those bad clubs. But
where would you put the Cardinals?
Well, now
With
I
all their
think,
close, they finally played a game that was not decided by one score, and they won it. That was a 10-point win at Dallas.
well, I think they made a good decision. I think Murray is a soft benching. They put him on IR.
Yeah.
It's pretty obvious that Murray is an overpaid baseball player that shouldn't be playing football. And it's been that way pretty much in his entire career. He has good moments. He's very athletic. He's very skilled, but he's not a guy. He's very small. He's very tough, but he's very small. And he falls off a cliff. He'll start the season off or play first 3 quarters. It'll fall off. And very inconsistent. Brissett is definitely better than Murray at this level. And that doesn't mean Brissett is the best quarterback in the world, but he's better than Murray.
Yeah.
And they made that decision by making it in a classy way. They soft bench him for, like they did to McCarthy for a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
In Minnesota, it's a soft benching. That's what I call it. And I think Arizona's dangerous.
Yeah.
No, I'm really high on Seattle, and picking up Shaheed is going to spread that.
This may be the most well-balanced roster in football.
A very tough team.
It's very close.
They blend Shaheed in there with the other fella. Great.
Yeah.
I mean, great offense, and Darnold has been awesome. So that's going to be a tough game, but Arizona gives them a lot of stability. And going forward, there's 4 teams in the West that are very dangerous.
Yeah.
Even though San Francisco doesn't make sense because they got so many people hurt, but they like Tampa Bay, they keep winning.
Yeah. That's a testament to John Lynch, ironically enough, the former linebacker with the Buccaneers for many, many years. Now the GM, personnel development, one of those roles with San Francisco. He's done a great job, and again, a great scouting department that helps that you develop that backup. Remember, Purdy was Mr. Irrelevant, the last player drafted, and he's had his injury issues, especially this year. But I tell you what, for someone who's the last guy picked in a draft, he's certainly exceeded expectations, and he's had the 49ers in the postseason, and they made it to the Super Bowl a few years ago.
So cutting it short there, on teasers, I like teasing all the dogs that are not bad teams. And if you know who the bad teams are, I'm not going to tease them because they're very capable of laying big eggs. But alternate line plays, where you're getting bigger pluses that, then you got to, it's a little bit tough because if you like the dogs, you're going to have to ask them to win the games.
Yeah.
And, which is possible because you got low lines. I mean, it's definitely possible Minnesota wins the game straight up over Baltimore.
Steelers against the Chargers.
It's possible New England beats Tampa Bay straight up because they've been playing really well. It's, everything's possible in this league right now. There are no really solid football teams. The best teams in the league, the Rams, the Lions, you can't say the Chargers anymore. They have no offensive line.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh is questionable on defense. You have to look at Philadelphia Eagles. I'd even say Green Bay, but then you look at their losses. They lost 2 games to teams they should have never lost to, and then they tied the worst defense in the league. So they've got 3 questionable games that they played.
You take a look at the standings. I don't believe any team has fewer than 2 losses. Now, we played half the schedule, basically. So you're basically looking at the end of the season, no team having better than, let's say, if you project it out, 13-4. Well, we had teams last year who were 15-2, 14-3. It doesn't seem to be that we're going to have that one team to beat at the end of the year, which by the same token means it's exciting because it means you could put 5 or 6 teams up there as the team to beat. Maybe, we're all talking about the Rams. Well, you got to include Seattle in there now. That's playing so well. Philadelphia, of course, is coming on, and they're in the AFC. Buffalo, Kansas City. Who else would you put in there right now? Denver, I guess. They've got a good record. They win ugly. How about that defense?
You got to look at Indianapolis.
Yeah, Indianapolis. Yeah. In fact, that's interesting because they play in Berlin this Sunday, the early game against Atlanta. They're coming off their first really bad game of the season. Daniel Jones had 3 interceptions. They lost 5. They lost 3 fumbles, so they were -5 in turnovers. And if you're -5 in turnovers, you should be losing games by 20 to 24 points. And it was a 7-point game. As they came back, they didn't quit. This will be a nice test of the resiliency of the Colts. I'd like to see how they perform. I would think they're going to perform well, as I think my screen is a little bit weird right now.
Yeah,
so
it is.
I think we've just got the audio going, so let me see if I can do something there. But
that's all right. Keep going.
Nonetheless,
we can
it
be
looks
an
as though
audio
this will be
program.
a good test for Indianapolis.
Yeah, it will.
No, but this will be a good test for Indianapolis. And if you haven't been a believer in Indianapolis and they go out and they spank Atlanta and win something like 31-13, maybe we have to start believing, because that would have also meant that Daniel Jones probably had a good game and shook off whatever demons he may have had from that effort last week.
And you never know what you're going to get from Atlanta. I mean, they came very close to beating the Patriots last week.
Yeah.
And I think
the
Patriots
missed extra point. Yeah.
They're a pretty solid team. So there's a lot of question marks in the league, and I think you have a lot of D teams or D minus teams, and then you have B plus teams, B teams, and B minus teams, and there's no real A team. Somebody that you absolutely know they're going to come out there with a strong effort and quality effort every week. The closest to that at this point in the season is probably, the LA Rams, maybe.
They've been very consistent. I'll tell you one thing about Philadelphia, because we mentioned it yesterday, and it's worth for this audience as well. Philadelphia was outgained in total yards in each of its first 7 games. Against the Giants in that rematch that they won before their bye week, they finally outgained an opponent. So it's a nice little thing to say, but it's only one game. However, and I like to look at yards per play, because that tells me what you do when you get the football and you run plays. Obviously, you could be outgained in total yards if you're getting scoring situations, whether direct scores or good field position, from turnovers or special teams play. So you run 57 plays and you gain 200 yards, and your opponent runs 75 plays and then gain 350 yards. Yeah, you're going to be outgained, but on the yards per play basis, well, maybe it's 300 versus 350. The point is, the first 4 games of the season, when Philadelphia was being outgained in total yards, they were being outgained in yards per play. However, even though in their next 3 games, they were outgained in total yards, and of course they outgained the Giants, they had outgained their last 4 opponents on a yards per play basis. That tells me that things are coming together for the Eagles, both on offense and defense. And it's right about now that they could make their run that they made last year, where they didn't lose 1 game, I think, until their first regular season loss this year. So it might be Philadelphia might be the team today we say the defending champs are defending their title very well.
I think Philadelphia is a very dangerous team, and I can't discount them at all. Andy, I hate to say this, but we're running out of power, and the power source is broken.
Oh.
So we're going to have to cut this short. I hate to do that, but we have to.
We got a lot into these 23 minutes.
We did very well. Thank you, Andy. We'll do it again next week.
Good luck, everybody. It's been enjoyable, and let's have some exciting. Well, it's hard not to have a game that's more exciting than last night.
There's going to be a lot of exciting games this week because there are a lot of close lines.
And let's hope we're on the right side of most of them.
I hope so. Take care, everybody.
Thanks, Jim.